Today from the global lane, U.S. troops withdraw from Afghanistan. Return of the Taliban?
There'll be a safe haven recreated in Afghanistan, not unlike what we had prior to 9/11.
Sudanese demand justice for Darfur and greater religious freedom for Christians.
They really do want their fundamental human right.
Mask mandates lifted, and now a new COVID threat.
How concerned should we be about variants like the Delta variant?
We should be very concerned.
Teaching civics and history, failing grades for 20 American states. Are you celebrating the 4th or turning your back on the USA?
End of an era in Afghanistan. After 20 years, all remaining U.S. troops will be out of the country within days. Security in the country is deteriorating. Some members of the Afghan security forces are laying down their weapons and are returning home. The Taliban reportedly now control 50 of 370 Afghan districts. Is the country heading toward a bloody civil war? Well, here to provide some insights is Major General Jeffrey Schlosser. Mr. Schlosser is former commanding general of the 101st Airborne Division and Regional Command EAS. He's author of the new book, Marathon War, Leadership in Combat in Afghanistan. General Schlosser, it's good to talk with you, sir. So, Marathon War, America's longest, now withdrawal, and a strong Taliban ready to pounce. Are all the gains slipping away? Is Afghanistan heading for disaster? Your thoughts?
Gary, first I want to, reassure everybody that's listening that, for 20 years, our daughters, our sons, our men and women from America and our NATO allies prevented another attack in our country like 9/11. So for 2 decades, we've enjoyed some security from being involved in Afghanistan. But as you say, the Taliban are making huge having military success throughout the country. There's no need for them to do any kind of, applying themselves to a negotiated treaty. They're going to take over the country militarily here, and we're going to leave. And that's going to leave, I think, a huge vacuum in the area. And I would say that without trying to be grim, to our listeners, I think that there will be a safe haven recreated in Afghanistan, not unlike what we had prior to 9/11.
Well, General, that's not very positive there. You're a 34-year Army veteran. You served in Afghanistan for 15 months. You were the first Global War on Terrorism Planning Director at the Pentagon. So please explain to me how the U.S. goal of eradicating al-Qaeda and its bases in Afghanistan evolved into nation building and fighting the Taliban. How did that happen?
Yeah, and Gary, that's a wonderful question that the American people need to understand. We went in there right after immediately 9/11 with a very simple mission: bring al-Qaeda to justice, either through capturing or killing their leadership and the majority of their followers, and then also to get rid of the Taliban, because the Taliban had provided that safe haven. We, by and large, pushed al-Qaeda out of the country, and they went to Pakistan. And eventually, over about another 9 or 10 years, we were able to capture or kill Osama bin Laden and capture or kill most of the al-Qaeda leadership at the time. But that didn't mean they were eliminated. And what we did is we also pushed out the Taliban. So we were relatively successful. But about mid-year of that, mid-decade, we looked around Afghanistan and we said, my gosh, if we don't stay here, this place is just going to roll back to being just another, complete safe haven for terrorism and planning against our country. And so we made that sort of, and I won't call it a fatal step, but we made a decision to move forward in nation building. And it's taken trillions of dollars, a lot of lives, a lot of national treasure in the way what we say, blood from our, young men and women. And that is been fairly unsuccessful. I have to be honest with you, Gary, when we look around, we were unable to recreate Afghanistan and what we wanted it to be, which was, we didn't try to be a democratic country. We didn't think of that or something like America, but we wanted to be a successful country with its own government. And this is proving to be, it's not going to be, we have not had a success. How's that?
Well, nearly 2,400 American deaths, 20,000 wounded, many of them limbless or with life-changing, life-altering wounds. Also a big cost in American treasure, more than $2 trillion to wage the 20-year war. So since my generation's war, Vietnam, it seems like the United States wages war, we pay a heavy cost, then we leave without winning. Has Afghanistan been worth it?
What we wanted to do was take the fight to their country. If we were going to have a fight against terrorists, we were going to do it where they were rather than have it in our country where we would have civilians involved. And I think we've been reasonably successful. I mean, we've had to be involved not only in Afghanistan, but around the world. this war against terrorism is not going to go away, even as we face, a resurgent Russia, or however you want to look at Russia, and pair competition with the Chinese. The terrorists have not given up. They don't like our country. They don't believe in our economy. They don't believe in our system of government or the rights that our citizens have. And we would be naive to think that this ends as we walk out of Afghanistan.
Okay, Major General Jeffrey Schlosser, author of the book Marathon War, Leadership in Combat in Afghanistan. Thank you, General, for sharing your experience and your insights today. We appreciate it.
And Gary, thanks for having me on the show.
2 years after the ouster of strongman Omar al-Bashir, Christians in Sudan say the interim government isn't doing enough to bring about religious freedom. Is the government actually enacting significant reforms, or has it stalled in bringing change to Sudanese society? Well, joining us is the president of Hardwired Global. The Richmond, Virginia-based non-government organization is helping the people of Sudan in their efforts to democratize their nation. Tina, it's good to talk with you again. So I know some Christians say they can now purchase alcohol in Sudan, but that isn't really the change they're looking for. Is Sudan actually embracing religious freedom, or is it just window dressing?
I think that's the million-dollar question right now, Gary. It's great to be with you. The people of Sudan have been fighting for their freedom for a very long time. And when they finally ousted Omar al-Bashir, I don't think that they were doing it to get alcohol, like you said. I think they really do want their fundamental human rights protected in a constitution. And I think it's time to really ensure that all of those aspects of basic human rights are in the Constitution and that they're institutionalized across the society for the people.
And the United States lifted sanctions and the state sponsor of terrorism designation against Sudan last year. So what other reforms do the U.S. and Western nations want to see Sudan enact?
Well, they did. And we saw right around that time that Sudan said that they would guarantee religious freedom in their new constitution. But there are still so many institutional changes that we need to see happen. As you know, that the ICC and Sudan agreed to send some of the indicted war criminals from the genocide in Darfur over to the ICC to be prosecuted. I think Omar al-Bashir obviously needs to be at the top of that list, since he was the first person ever, convicted of genocide. The United States even helped declare genocide against, what was happening there many years ago, recognizing it. So I think that institutionally we need to see the people that Bashir was surrounded by really moved out of power, so that the military class isn't the one still operating the country from behind the scenes.
Yes, we saw large crowds in Darfur as a ICC prosecutor visited there. They want justice. They want to see Omar al-Bashir pay. And I've got to ask about the world's youngest nation, South Sudan, now celebrating 10 years of independence. There's been a lot of fighting and division in South Sudan since then. They've experienced recent flooding, a drought, myriad of problems. So how close is South Sudan to unifying and finally accepting a new constitution, Tina?
Well, I'd like to say that they were close, but I don't think that they are. They've been pushing it off for at least 2 or 3 years now. My organization, Hardwired, has been very active in helping train the parliamentarians and other key leaders throughout the government to understand, what does it mean to have a constitutional government, a government established by the people for the people, where it protects the rights of the people? How do you serve your constituents? How do you educate your constituents on what their rights are? We've seen the United Nations in there for over 3 decades, and still the people are ignorant of what their rights are. So clearly it's time for the people of South Sudan to really understand what it means to have freedom and to sustain it through a governing body that protects those freedoms. And that's what I've been working for the past 2 years in South Sudan, and will continue to work for this year, to have a peaceful transition of power next year with elections. I think they're supposed to take place in the winter this coming year, but it keeps getting pushed back. So we are hoping and we are preparing for that. And really, until the people are prepared, I don't know what good an election would be.
Okay, Tina Ramirez, president of Hardwired Global. Thank you, Tina, for joining us.
Thank you, Gary.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy?
How many nickels are in $1?
There are 20 nickels in $1.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain. Get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Mask mandates. While most U.S. states are lifting mask requirements for people who are vaccinated, most airlines are keeping them in place. On several occasions, that's led to rage and the arrest of passengers. So is it time to drop the mandates and go back to our previous maskless lives? Well, here to weigh in is Dr. Salvatore Giorgiani. Dr. Giorgiani is a senior science advisor to the Men's Health Network and a past chair emeritus of the American Public Health Association. So, Dr. Sal, with more people getting vaccinated, is it time to put away our masks?
Well, I think we still have to be cautious, and you have to be aware of your circumstances, just like everything else in life. You know, what works in one area doesn't necessarily work in another. So I think, and some people really, they've been wearing masks, Gary, for the better part of a year or more. And it takes a little bit of time to get back into the rhythm and feel comfortable. So I think there are some situations, if you're older, if you have immunologic problems, if you've not been vaccinated, one of the most important things you can do is get vaccinated. And if it makes you feel better, wear that mask in crowded indoor situations. Outdoors, that's not necessarily been an appropriate thing to do for like a very long time. And I think that we're slowly getting to a point where we will get back to not having to wear masks in any venues.
Dr. Sal, I've noticed some people are scorned for wearing them. Others are ridiculed for not wearing them. And in the Dr. Seuss book, you remember the Sneetches. Star-bellied Sneetches are cool, the best of society. Plain-bellied Sneetches are shunned. So how likely is it that we're creating a society of Dr. Seuss Sneetches?
Yeah, I think that is one of the terrible liabilities we see here, not only with mask wearing, Gary, but also with having been vaccinated. That one of the things that we enjoy in the United States is our personal freedoms. That has to be protected. Certainly with those freedoms comes responsibility. So, but I think that a lot of what we're seeing now speaks to just how fragile our freedoms are, whether you're talking about a medical context or whether you're talking about a social political context. We are teetering, I think, on an area that's of some questionable ethical morality.
Well, speaking of that, it seems that the airline industry and some others are pushing this idea of requiring digital passports to show that you've been vaccinated. So how concerned should we be about that and privacy rights?
Well, I think that they are trying to strike a balance between how to keep their personnel, their employees safe, keep the traveling public safe, and also move in and out of different countries. Don't forget, it's not just about traveling within the United States, about traveling internationally as well. I do think that we need to have some way of acknowledging someone who has been vaccinated or not vaccinated for lots of reasons. So I don't have any particular aversion to vaccination proof. you can do these things in a way that protects your personal privacy, and that technologically is certainly feasible. Now, the next question, Gary, is if you've identified someone who has not been vaccinated, what do you do? Do you deny them boarding? Do you deny them boarding for a business trip, to attend a funeral, to go on vacation? What do you do? Do you have just planes for unvaccinated and vaccinated? We all have to sort this out.
Millions of Americans are still not vaccinated. Many are skeptical about the vaccine effectiveness. Others don't feel they need it. I know someone who was vaccinated and still contracted COVID-19. So how concerned should we be about variants like the Delta variant?
We should be very concerned. The vaccine makes you immune to the effects of the virus. You still can carry the virus. It's just not going to do anything to you. We also believe that there is good data to strongly suggest that if you're vaccinated, it's much harder for you to transmit the virus to another individual, but you can. And also, we have to keep in mind that as wonderful as these vaccines are, especially the Pfizer, Moderna, J&J vaccines, they protect you to the point of 90 to 95, not 100%. And then with the Delta variant that we're seeing now, and maybe others to come, that drops down to maybe 88%. So it's very hard to know, Gary, if you're in that 90, 88, 90, 95%, or if you're in that other minority who still will get it and still get sick. It's all a matter of degrees. It's not an on or off switch.
Okay, Dr. Salvatore Giorgiani, thank you for sharing your time and scientific expertise with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having us on.
Are you suffering from feeling tired or worn out during the day? Can you not turn off your brain at night? You are not alone. Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Bruce, the sleep doctor, and I've partnered with the Christian Broadcasting Network, and we're going to bring you some unbelievable information that you can use tonight to get a better night's rest.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Protect Your Sleep today.
Nutrition, exercise, essential oils, weight loss, and more. It's Healthy Living with Lori Johnson.
Talk about what's in this.
Join CBN health reporter Lori Johnson to get the latest information from today's top health experts.
This is fantastic.
Find out what you need to know to live a healthier life. Watch Healthy Living Tuesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man, come...
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
In this era of wokeness and critical race theory, how are American public schools faring in teaching of civics and history? Some states are doing much better than others, and you may be surprised to learn which ones are doing the best. Well, here to set us straight by sharing the results of a new survey is Amber Northern, Senior Vice President of Research at the Thomas Fordham Institute. So, Amber, thanks for taking the time to share the report with us. So please reveal which states are doing the best job of teaching children civics and history, and why is that important?
Yeah, it's kind of surprising. It is Alabama, California, Massachusetts, Tennessee, and the District of Columbia, which, you know, are all both political stripes. Those are red and blue states, which we were kind of surprised to see that. But just those 5 states and jurisdictions across the country, we only had 5 A's, which is a little depressing. We want to see many more A's across the country. But I think the lesson for us is, you know, there's all this cancel culture and critical race theory. But no matter your politics, if you're a state that really cares about getting this right, about being factual and about not biasing the teaching, you can have folks of all political stripes come together and actually write good standards in civics and history. It can be done.
And which states were at the bottom of your list? Did any receive failing grades, Amber?
20 Fs. I won't name all 20. But Vermont was in that bucket, and North Carolina was scoring pretty low. Alaska was pretty low. So 20 Fs in both civics and history. That's way too many. And then we had, obviously the rest of the states are falling in the middle in the B and C range. The C range, hey, that leaves a lot of room for improvement too. So we think states need to do a lot better job teaching what it means to understand your government and elections and how folks are elected and what it means to be a citizen and to participate in a democracy. Those things need a lot more help and strengthening across the country in K-12 schools.
Oh, that's surprising. It's almost half of the states aren't doing a very good job. So why are some states doing much better than others teaching civics and history? Does it come down to money or will?
It comes down, I'm gonna say will, because I think just anecdotally what we hear a lot of times is that this is so divisive, and it's a place where adults can fight a lot about what exactly kids should know in these two subject areas. So some states just write mush, for lack of a better term. These standards have no details. They're very generic and abstract, and you read them, and it might say something like, study how individuals impact organizations over time or something. I'm making that up, but it's drivel. Where's the Bill of Rights? Where's the, where's the discussion of the Constitutional Convention? What's the 14th Amendment? And so on and so forth. There's just no meat on the bones.
And how concerned then should we be about critical race theory and other revisionist views of government and American history being taught in American classrooms?
I mean, thankfully, we did not see too much of that in the state standards this time around. So that's a good thing. We actually do see quite a few states, handling, the warts and all in our history fairly and accurately. They don't, skate over the difficult parts of our history, but they also don't paint us in a completely negative fashion as a country. So we're not seeing too much of this critical race theory take hold. That said, a lot of states right now are right smack in the process of revisiting their state civics and U.S. history standards. And so, fingers crossed that it's not going to get worse, because there's still so much room for improvement already. And we want states headed in the right directions.
It's about parents getting involved. Amber Northern of the Thomas Fordham Institute, thank you for setting us straight today.
Thank you.
Too often we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Tikkun Olam.
This is our nature as a country.
To make the world a better place.
Literally, we felt the earth shaking.
The Christian Broadcasting Network presents To Life, how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
This film needs to be seen by everyone.
I was in tears.
Now you can own the inspiring documentary To Life on DVD.
There is blood on our hands if we know and we walk away.
I'm so grateful that this film was made.
To Life can be yours for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
We know that every minute counts to save life.
It'll bless Israel, but it'll also bless all the friends of Israel.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are making the world a better place. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com to get your copy today.
So how are you celebrating the 4th of July this year, America's 245th birthday? Last year, in the middle of the pandemic, 78% of Americans said celebrating Independence Day carried a high or moderate health risk. This year, only 41% of adults say that. Regardless, some people won't celebrate at all. They're Americans, but they don't really like America. They'll wave and salute a rainbow or BLM flag, but not the Stars and Stripes. They'll dwell on the negative and turn their backs on America, just like U.S. hammer thrower Gwen Berry did when the national anthem played recently at the Olympic trials. Folks, I prefer to focus on the positive. This is the best country on earth. 2 million people flooding over our southern border this fiscal year proves that. So you think the United States has issues? Try visiting Iran, India, China, Nigeria, or Bangladesh. I could go on and on listing countries, but you get the idea. Let's not forget that celebrating American independence is about more than just going to the beach and grilling hot dogs. It's a time to remember our founding and the Judeo-Christian values that we hold close to our hearts, what makes us unique as Americans. No, we're not perfect, and yes, we've made a lot of mistakes, but Americans continue to strive to make our nation better. How about slavery? Yes, like many nations and cultures, Americans participated in that ungodly travesty. But guess what? We ended it. Today, we celebrate the death of slavery in the USA with a national holiday, Juneteenth. Much more needs to be done to overcome past and present injustices, especially for Native Americans who suffer from poverty, unemployment, drug and alcohol abuse, and suicide on their reservations. But we need to provide them with a helping hand, not a handout. And there's a huge difference between equity and equality. The U.S. Declaration of Independence tells us that all men are created equal. Yes, God has made us in His image. We are all born equal, but He has given each of us different gifts and talents. I wouldn't be a good physicist or engineer. That's not my gifting. You may not be a gifted public speaker, but you're a great nurse or a carpenter. We're not equal in what we do or what we accomplish in life. You cannot create equity in that. But we can assure equal opportunity. Again, the Declaration of Independence, signed 245 years ago, states that all people have the right to life. That includes babies in the womb, by the way, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's the ideal, pursuing and protecting those rights. So let's set aside our political differences and celebrate America, our freedom, and what binds us together as we strive to create a more perfect union. Well, that's it today from the Global Lane. Be sure to follow us on the CBN News and NRB channels, social media, and our broadcast affiliates. And until next time, happy birthday, America. Be blessed.